Hi everyone, welcome to another session. Today's session may or may not be a bit of a godsend to some of you. It might be a revelation to others. Excuse the pun there, godsend revelations, never mind. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a lot of students asking about this thing called gospel chops. Personally, and this is a personal opinion, I'm not convinced that gospel chops really exist. I think it's just another kind of marketing term. But, you know, I don't want to get into that discussion now because gospel drumming, gospel music, that is a whole thing that's going on and has been for decades and decades. Gospel chops, it appears to me, is really just drumming. It's just people playing the drums. If you showed some of the great drummers from the current gospel generation out of context and just said, check this drummer out, I'm not convinced that anyone, you know, an alien from another planet would say that sounds like gospel chop. It's just very, very good drumming. However, to every question there is an answer, and what I think we could be looking at is some really nice ideas for moving things that we already know how to do into another pulse, inverting them slightly. I'll show you what I mean. For example, I had a good session with quite a few students doing what I'm going to demonstrate now. In particular, an answer to this question, students saying, can you show me some gospel chops? What I'm tempted to do is just to say, go on YouTube, Aaron Spears, Chris Coleman, just go and have a look. But of course, they want to have a go at it in the lesson. So here's a routine that I came up with, and we might revisit this in sessions to come. So I'm just taking some groups of 8, which we know and love, 6 on the hands, 2 on the feet. I usually use a twin pedal for this. But I'm using a single pedal for this particular session because in this particular routine I'm just not used to doing it with 2 feet, so I'm just using 1 foot. So what I got my student to do was to play this group of 8 in this manner. So I'm going snare, high tom, then I'm moving it all to there, floor, mid tom, and then I'm playing 2 on the floor, and that's giving me 6 notes, and 2 on the bass. So I'm getting... Now, there's no particular order you need to do this in, what I'm going to demonstrate, but this is the sequence that I used. The sequence of events, I mean, not sequence of notes. So what I said was, we're going to play that down the kit in like 16th notes. So far, so good. So I said, let's do that as a fill. So we go 1. Now that immediately presents us with a problem, which is that we've got 2 bass drum notes at the end of the sequence, at the end of the run of notes, and we need to play the cymbal with another bass drum note, which gives us 3 bass drum notes. Which is fair enough if you're you only get up to a certain speed. If you're using a twin pedal, you can go with your feet, so we get... But I'm saying in this lesson we only have a single pedal, so there's only so fast I can get. As a margin note to this particular conversation I'm having with a student, we've got a couple of options. Of course, we could forsake a bass drum note. Or we could just roll out. But that kind of defeats the object of the lesson, as you will see in a second. So what I'm saying is, let's solve that problem by inverting the pattern. We'll start it in a different place. We'll move it back a note. No, sorry, we'll move it back 2 notes. We'll start on the bass drum. So we'll go 2 basses, then the 6 notes. Sorry, my mistake. So that's not only solved our problem, it's given us a slightly more interesting sound. Or we could start with one bass drum though, which is quite nice too, because you'll come out like this. So we start with, in effect, the second bass drum note. But here's the fun bit. To make it sound a bit more dramatic, we're going to shift the pulse of notes up into the triplet, into the 16th note triplet, which is going to give us 24 notes. Conveniently, 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 8 is 24. So we will get 3 of our into our triplet field. What I did in this lesson was to then go back to the original sequence of 8 with the 2 bass drum notes at the end, just to get the student a feel of playing these triplets. But there's no particular reason to do it that way. You know, you don't have to follow exactly my train of thought with this, but that's what I did. So I said, well, let's go back to our first one and play those as triplets. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... actually, I'm being misleading there. There's 16th note triplets. But I did get the student to go easy on it, like 1 and a 2 and a... just to get the feel of it. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4. Various tricks you can use if your student has trouble doing this, like... just to kind of build up a few notes at a time. So eventually we've got it going, and we can now think in 30-second triplets. 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now we're back to the earlier problem with it. If we play that as a fill, we have to play the crash cymbal. So we get the 3 bass drum notes, which we don't want. So... I don't want to have the whole thing again. If you use twin pedal, you could, but let's say we're not. So we're going to invert it. The inversion that we used was to start with the double bass note. In triplet feel, that will be 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a da 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 da. Here's our triplet feel. Sorry. Get that into a more of a funky feel. Once you've got them going, you can of course I'm just moving it around. The one that actually got my students' pulse rating was this one. Oh, sorry. So I'm just going. Right hand's just going 1, 2, 3. Left hand staying here. So I'm going 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... That, of course, is the inverted version. What I was doing a second ago was starting there. But we take the inversion, so start with a double bass drum. 1, 2, 3 and a 4. And then, of course, we start with the single bass drum note. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. One bass drum. Okay, bit funkier. And then this way. Get a double cymbal crash. Okay, so just coming there, which means you could, if you wanted, Okay, so there's an idea to solve your kind of gospel chops problem. It's a good starting point anyway. Certainly I've done this with 3 students who've asked the same question, one guy in particular. And they were very happy with the results and the amount of practice they could get out of that. And it just gave them a bit of a chance to get a bit nearer to the kind of drumming they were looking at. We'll probably visit a bit more of this in a session or two's time, maybe next session, do a little bit more. Any feedback you can give me would be appreciated on that. In the meantime, have fun so far, and we'll, like I say, we'll have another look at it later.